This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dorrinal, Brian Niemeier, and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab. It is our December movie trio show. Two of the three of us have gone out and watched three movies that we're going to kind of discuss. But first, I want to mention that Milo Yiannopoulos, a.k.a. Nero, is at this very moment risking sanity by watching and live tweeting Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. What are his chances of surviving this with his sanity fully intact, Dorrinal?
I'm giving it even odds. He's always been a bit daft as it is, and he's already expressed his hatred for the Star Wars franchise as a whole, so he's got a lot of natural defenses against that sort of bullshit. But just the sheer quality of the screenwriting and acting, I think, put it at even odds.
What about you, Brian? Are you sanguine about his chances of coming through this all right?
Well, he's 17 minutes in, and he's already asking for people to send help. So, it doesn't look good.
If you know Milo, if you're in the area, if you want to stage an intervention, now would be the time.
Yeah, he shouldn't be alone right now.
Oh, that's true. You should never watch Phantom Menace alone. When I watch Phantom Menace, I saw it in the theaters so I could suffer with hundreds of people. Worse yet, I didn't even know I would be suffering. I was still naively, foolishly, stupidly optimistic that it would be a good movie.
My friends don't let friends watch Phantom Menace alone, if at all.
All right, well, I have to dash across the room to grab a bottle of water, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute myself and allow my two co-hosts to entertain you how they will for just a moment. I'll be right back.
Okay, Brian, what's new with you this week?
Oh, well, aside from, rushing to put finishing touches on my second book, I have been going back and playing through some of the classic Grand Theft Auto games because they're new to me. I've never owned or played completion a GTA game until now.
So those end?
They can. I mean,
Are you playing the original ones, like the top-down isometric GTAs?
No, the 3D universe. So Vice City and San Andreas.
Oh.
Yeah, they do have story modes, like where if you do every mission in the main character's timeline, you get an ending, but then you can keep playing.
We're talking GTA here?
Yes.
Did you play some GTA this week? Is that why?
Actually, for the last couple of months I've been doing it, but this week I've been doing San Andreas because I finished Vice City to my satisfaction, because I know that you can finish the main story, but then the sandbox element could go on forever theoretically.
Yeah.
But I've been tackling San Andreas. I don't know if you heard me tell Dorrinal, but I've never played any of these games before, so.
See, the very first Grand Theft Auto I ever played was GTA 4, so.
Yeah.
I played I think one of the old ones, GTA 2, for a little bit, and never picked up the game again. I'm not sure I see the appeal. The only GTA I've played that I ever really liked was the GTA clone where you're a super cop. Was that Just Cause?
No, that's Crackdown.
Crackdown. Oh my goodness.
Crackdown was awesome. It had a shallow shallow story, such as it was, but the gameplay itself was just insanely fun.
Yeah, so I guess that's the appeal, running around the city. And only in GTA, instead of being a bad good guy, you're a bad bad guy.
Well, for me, the appeal of the two games have different appeal. I far prefer Vice City, and from the moment I put it in, I had an interesting response, involuntary, that I've never had to really anything else, which is just I was sitting there playing Vice City, progressively growing more and more enraged by how beautiful the game is, if that makes any sense.
Enraged?
Yeah, never before has my response to, to beauty been just to grow more and more furious. It's just a dichotomy between the real world that we have to live in and this nostalgic fantasy world. I suppose some people had a similar response to Avatar, although that was more depression. But yeah, I'd just be driving around to listen to Flock of Seagulls and gunning down some Haitians and like, man, this is what is best in life. Haitian gangsters, I should specify. Because basically, with the sandbox element, I basically turned Tommy Vercetti into Batman and became the vigilante. Because I stole the tank, and then I had a helicopter with a machine gun on it, and a super fast speedboat, and a mansion. Like, okay, I'll just play Bruce Wayne here and go out at night, and criminals are a superstitious lot, so I will strike fear into them. And there are actually missions where you can do that. So, making my own fun.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Well, then in San Andreas, I have used the customization options to turn Carl Johnson into Nick Fury. Guy patch and everything. So I'm just going around in a black Land Rover doing, urban warfare like from Winter Soldier, and it's great. It really works.
If you had the machine to play it, you might like Grand Theft Auto 5 that way.
Okay. I've played some of 5. I like what I've seen. 5 looks like the game that San Andreas should have been, because to me, San Andreas is barely fun.
Yeah.
There's just way too many unnecessary RPG elements, definite kitchen sink game where everything they tried to pack in there just doesn't work together.
Yeah, I heard that a lot of the great stuff for Grand Theft Auto really made it into 4, and then Grand Theft Auto 5 is like 4 with all the bad stuff taken out and a bunch of cool new stuff added in.
Yeah, I can see that.
So
that's the same sort of thing that slowed me down on the Assassin's Creed games. I picked them up late, but I really enjoyed playing the first 2, and then the sequels to Assassin's Creed 2 kept throwing in other things for you to do, and so you sort of log in and you've got a laundry list of cool things to check out and little mini games to play, and it sort of drags out the whole experience.
I think Milo has broken down to the point where he's starting to quote Nietzsche.
Ooh, that's a bad sign.
He's such a drama queen.
From the moment we are born, we begin to die. Over a picture of Jar Jar Binks.
He's at least one of those two things, Dorrinal. Yeah.
All right. Which one do you want to talk about first? I want to talk about Creed first. Can we talk about Creed first?
Sure.
It's your show.
Okay. Creed is a sequel to the Rocky films. It stars the poor guy who had the misfortune of being cast as Johnny Storm in the recent, much panned, much derided, much hated Fantastic Four movie. And no, I don't know his name, and I don't recall his name. I just recall his face and what movie he was in, so you'll just have to look it up under IMDb. If you've ever watched the Rocky movies, one of the main characters was played by Carl Weathers, and it was a character by the name of Apollo Creed, this boxer who trains Rocky, they're rivals, but they're also good friends. Well, Creed is about his illegitimate son who decides after boxing underground for a while, decides he wants to have a real career and he needs a trainer to do that. And he goes to ask some people to help train him. None of them will. And so he travels to Philadelphia to visit Rocky Balboa in his restaurant, Adrian's, named after his dead wife, and try to convince Rocky to train him for his boxing career. So there are a lot of plot things that happened. I think it was a great film. It's well written, beautifully acted, and thematically speaking, I really appreciate the themes of a young, hungry boxer coming up, having to learn how to discipline himself and grow and develop the abilities, the natural talent he has with him, while at the same time this older man is helping him out because he feels responsible for a friend's illegitimate son who he's never met in his entire life. He didn't know existed. And Rocky's dealing with his own themes of loss, of pain, both his original trainer, played by Burgess Meredith, and his wife are dead, and he, at one point in the movie, visits the grave, and there's a lot of things that could have been done very schmaltzy, very cliched, very bad in the hands of other directors, but in this movie, they are beats that we've seen before, but they are universal human traits. I mean, it's not like somebody can make a movie and say, well, he cried because and Rocky doesn't literally cry, but this character is sad because he has dead people, therefore no one in the history of the world can ever be sad because they have dead family members in any movie ever again. It's cliched, we've seen it before, you can never ever do it again. Well, that's bullshit, obviously. He has things that happen to him, Rocky does, that are purely human moments that you have to reuse because that's what makes us human. That's what makes us care about the character. That's what makes us care about the movie, is these human moments that happen. And despite the fact that we've seen similar things before, they are well done in this movie, and they work. If you like the themes the movie is dealing with, then I think you'll really, really enjoy the movie. If the themes of struggle, if the themes of fighting to establish yourself to become better, if the themes of dealing with loss in a life that has come to seem kind of empty. Rocky is kind of going through the motions of living his life and just doing what he does because it's what he always does. He's managing his restaurant. But now he has someone come into his life who actually needs him, who actually wants him, who is almost a member of his family, and he has to deal with wanting to or needing to move out of what he's been doing, move out of the rut he's in, and go back into a world he left a long time ago. So I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a great movie. I thought that it is a fitting addition to Rocky, to Rocky's story, which started 40 years ago. And the funny thing is Burgess Meredith, at the time they made Rocky, and you may remember him, he was the guy who talked with a really raspy voice. He was 69 when the first Rocky was made, and the actor, Sylvester Stallone, is 69 this year. So he's now the same age as Burgess Meredith was in that first Rocky movie. So I would highly recommend it to anybody who enjoys Rocky movies or enjoys sports movies or just enjoys movies in general. There are some people who won't like it. That's fine. I loved it.
So that sounds great. I have actually never seen a Rocky movie. Is this something I want to see, or what should I expect out of it?
There's nothing in this movie that requires you to have seen any Rocky movie ever.
Would you say it's a good jumping-on point then?
It's a good jumping-off point.
Oh.
Yes, it's easy for people to get into. Everything you need to know to understand the characters and understand the movie is in the movie itself. But if you have seen the movies that movies in which events they're referencing come from, then you will understand them more. And there's a lot of, I won't deny it, there's a lot of investment in the movie because I have seen all the Rockies, even the two really bad ones, and so I care about Rocky as a character. I think he's a great character, and you care about him and his strife and his struggles. He's a very blue-collar character who came from literally nothing to make something of himself. And if you have seen the other Rockies and you have an investment in the character, it makes it a much better movie. That's the kind of the difficulty, is if you don't have any investment in Rocky and if you don't care about him at all, would you still like the movie? I think so, but I'm not sure.
So I suppose I would find out this for Dorrinal to give it a try.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a try and let you guys know. Hey, it worked for Mad Max. I really liked that movie without having seen the other ones.
Yeah.
All right. So that's my review of Rocky, or that's my review of Creed. Why don't we? By the way, if you're going to watch the Rocky movies, I would recommend at all costs skipping number 4 and skipping number 5. Number 4 is cheesy beyond belief. If you can handle 80s cheese, it's about a showdown, a confrontation between a Russian boxer and Rocky. So if you can handle that level of Cold War cheese, and I mean we're talking cheesier than Red Dawn cheese. If you can handle that, fine, watch it. But it's not a good movie. It's not a great movie. And number 5 was just terrible. Just absolutely sub-mediocre. Not even the kind of fun, enjoyable, exciting terrible where you can just sit down and laugh at the people making it. It was just a bad movie all around. Never should have been made. But number 6. Which stars Milo Ventimiglia from, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, I apologize, from Heroes. You might remember him as Peter Petrelli in Heroes. He plays Rocky's son all grown up, and it's also a great movie. Creed is actually better.
Oh, wow, really?
Yes.
Because I was really impressed by the last one, so I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, Rocky Balboa is a great movie, and I thought that was a fitting end to the series, and it kind of is because, again, Rocky, this movie is about Creed. It's called Creed because it's about Adonis Johnson, who is Apollo Creed's illegitimate son. It's really about him. It's really about that character. Rocky is there as, sort of the main character, kind of the Alfred character to Batman.
He's the relationship character, to use the Hollywood formula terminology.
Yes, he's very much the relationship character. But it's still a movie about Rocky. So Rocky Balboa is a fitting end to the Rocky saga. And this is, I don't know they're probably going to make more because it's Hollywood. They serialize everything nowadays. I mean, they're making prequels to Mockingjay, for crying out loud. They're planning on it.
Wait, what? Why would they do that?
Because
right, young adults. Never mind.
Well, yeah, because they want to make money off of it. To bring it back to our pre-show discussion about the Phantom Menace, they just wanted to make money. I mean, seriously, how depressing does that sound? Well, we're living in a country, and for 75 years we've been sending children off to get murdered in the Capitol in these Hunger Games. Oh, and by the way, we're from District 12, and District 12 always loses, except for one alky 30 years ago. All of our children die. Every year, a boy and a girl get sent off to die in brutal gladiatorial games, and have been doing it for 70 years. Yes, that sounds like an exciting thesis for a movie I want to see. Boy, line that up for me. Yeah.
If I just well ask why do they keep printing money? Yeah. Well, at least it sounds like if we're gonna have more Rocky movies, if we have to, at least it sounds like the series has kind of found its second wind.
I would not mind seeing another movie based around Adonis Creed's character if it was this good. So, all right, let's talk. Despite the fact that we just had a perfect segue into Mockingjay, I'm going to pull back because I just did the whole big Creed thing, and frankly, I want to drink some water and relax and let somebody else take the mic for a bit. We're going to let Brian tell us about the Christmas horror movie. I mean, I get kind of the feeling it's kind of a comedic horror movie, but we'll see. Krampus. Go, Brian.
Thank you. But first, your Milo Sanity Watch update. So 1 minute ago, Milo has either snapped or he's at the breaking point. He has posted a screen cap of Darth Maul's hologram with the caption, "The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality." So it is now non sequitur theater.
That is Emily Dickinson.
Yes, it is. Fun fact, you can set any Emily Dickinson poem to the theme from Gilligan's Island. Since he could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. Just in the same meter. But yeah. And on that note, yes, Krampus is a horror comedy, much in the same vein as classic 80s holiday-themed horror movies like Gremlins. If anyone's checked out Half in the Bag's review of it, I find much to agree with there. Mockingjay basically described it as if someone in Hollywood was rummaging around in a long-neglected drawer and found this forgotten script by Chris Columbus from back in the day and said, hey, let's make it, and let's get the dude who did Trick or Treat, which is one of my favorite horror movies of recent times, to direct it. So they got Michael Dougherty from Trick or Treat, which I also highly recommend, and solid script, excellent, almost entirely practical creature effects. I mean, the art design is worthy of something like the Jim Henson Company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of it reminded me of something from like the Dark Crystal, like the Skeksis. It's kind of the vibe that Krampus gives off, along with a touch of like Jacob Marley from the old black and white 1950s Scrooge, and then Scrooge with Bill Murray and Leatherface.
That's quite the mix.
It works. It really does. So, brief spoiler-free synopsis, which is clearly displayed in the trailers anyway. But there's a young boy named Max, living in a standard white-bread, middle-class American family from Central Casting. Although the casting is great in this movie. And he still maintains kind of this naive but fierce devotion to like the secular Coca-Cola and greeting card image of Santa Claus, you know. And when his redneck, backwater, boorish in-laws come for Christmas, in a scene very much reminiscent of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You can imagine a Cousin Eddie, except more malicious. An altercation leads him to lose faith in Santa, and as you see in the trailer, he tears up his letter to Santa, where what he'd asked for Christmas was for his family to get along again, and for Christmas to be like it used to be. So he's got this kind of rose-colored vision of Christmases past that he wants to return to. You know, he wants to wrap presents with his family while watching Charlie Brown Christmas special and, you know, hang out with his sister like she used to before she got a boyfriend. So there's kind of this undertone of sort of trying to delay growing up and, you know, trying to just stand a thwart to the transition between childhood and adolescence, which, if it was intentional, was pretty deep. But, so anyway, because he despairs of the sacrificial, giving Christmas spirit, instead of St. Nicholas, the family gets St. Nicholas' shadow, which is the Krampus who comes not to give, but to take. And it doesn't matter what anyone else has done, it doesn't matter if they've been good. If the Krampus shows up, like, he's taking everybody out, just indiscriminately.
Everybody dies.
No, that's Christmas spirit.
Well, honestly, it reintroduces an idea that modern Christmas celebrations have really lost because, I mean, Krampus is a real Alpine legend, and most other cultures don't just have St. Nicholas coming. He's got a helper, like whether it's Krampus or Black Peter or, evil elves who do come and hand out coal and switches to naughty children.
Yep. I know this because I grew up in Bavaria.
Awesome.
I was 2 years old when we moved to Germany. I lived there till I was 10. So we celebrated. We had an annual Christmas dinner every year where there would be a Santa figure, and following behind him, I believe, was Black Peter. The local company held this for the Cub Scouts in the American base, and Black Peter would follow around, and he would, if you were bad, he would hand out switches for your parents to use.
To beat you, yeah. And in fact, in Austria, they still celebrate Krampusnacht on December 4th. So
that's great. I mean, that's metal. I'm moving to Germany now.
It is totally metal. And the Krampus,
only if we were gonna revive those traditions here, we would have to call it African American Peter, right?
I don't know. Apparently, he's Moorish.
You might have to use the German name for Black Peter.
It's Zwart Piet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, Maris in the comments says that Black Peter is a Moor, much like Azim from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. So there's that. Yeah, he's pointing out that the Black Peter legend comes from when Moorish slavers would raid Europe and take the people away as slaves. So, and you can actually kind of see that in the movie because you don't really see a lot of kills. It is a PG-13 horror film, but it's more that the Krampus comes to take you away. And it's implied to hell, but it's not like he's running around chopping people up with a chainsaw or anything. And that's what I like about it. Doherty really knows how to use implied horror. He knows that if he just gives you the setup, that what you can imagine will be more terrifying than anything he could show you outright. So the movie really gets that right.
I love that style.
Yeah, it's a great style. I mean, it's not rushed. One of the best things about the movie... Oh, and I got to tell you about the opening. It opens on a mob of Christmas shoppers descending on a generic big box store a la Black Friday and just rioting. Like, people getting tased, fighting over Barbie dolls, punching each other.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, trampling stock boys. Just dead-eyed cashiers checking people out. Probably looking a lot like Milo right now watching Phantom Menace. All set to It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year playing over it. Oh, no, sorry, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas is playing over that scene. And really, the movie could not have begun any other way. So, and yeah, it takes its time. Much like with Creed, everything you need to know about the characters is introduced. It uses the first act to set up the characters and their relationships and conflicts, where there are more talented directors out there who would succumb to the temptation that says, oh, well, people's attention spans are too short nowadays, we need to rush the intro. But Doherty doesn't. He gives the audience the benefit of the doubt, and it makes the horror that comes later that much more poignant because you know about these characters.
So, a well-done horror movie.
Well, much of it is well done. There are 2 warts on this otherwise perfect movie. Otherwise, it would have been perfect. But there were 2 problems that I had with it. The first, and admittedly most minor, is the characterization of the in-laws. Because, all right, look, I know that I can't expect anyone in Hollywood to actually be a practicing Christian who honestly celebrates Christmas and all its traditions, or even to have met a practicing Christian or anyone who's not from the Super Zip or the East or West Coast, but everyone in that family embodies every negative stereotype of flyover country, knuckle-dragging rubes as filtered through the lens of our manufacturers of culture.
So you're saying if they had been black characters, they would be eating watermelon and fried chicken and drinking purple Fanta?
That's what I'm saying. They would be eating delicious food and drinking delicious beverages. Yes. So I like all those things too.
Those are. And I actually had to get warned about this when I was taking my classes for journalism. Those are stereotypes of African Americans that exist, racist stereotypes. So you can't portray African American characters with those because you're racist.
Fair enough, but at the same time, it's perfectly okay to stereotype, lower income conservative folks as gun grabbing, blowhard, just mannerless churls, for want of a better term.
Who are very, very judgmental about other people, but very, very hypocritical about their own.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Although, and of course, the V-neck sweater wearing, skinny jeans wearing, very, very much yup-tastic, supple dad shows up his in-law brother. Although they do have some humanizing moments. I will give Dougherty credit for that, because he does have the redneck dad does have an arc. Like at one point he apologizes to his brother-in-law, says, "Yeah, I was on your whim. I'm sorry. Based on the way you've handled the situation, I can now see you're not." And he does have his heroic moments. It's clearly shown that he cares about his kids and what is happening, but he's still just portrayed as a buffoon without a coherent thought in his head. Although, as Jay Bauman pointed out, it is one of those situations where everybody dog piles on the gun nut, makes fun of him, until people need the guns, and then they go begging him for help.
So the prejudice is one of the warts. What's the other one?
Okay, this is much more serious, and I can't discuss it without touching on the ending, so mild spoiler alert. But, okay, it's explicitly stated that the reason the Krampus comes and what summons the Krampus is despair. It is losing hope in the spirit of Christmas, which is defined as sacrificial giving. Okay, I will... Good try, Hollywood. I will give you a pass on that being the spirit of Christmas. It's better than 9 out of 10 sitcom holiday specials out there. However, they also point out that once the Krampus comes, there is nothing you can do. He cannot be pacified. You cannot say you are sorry. You can't even offer, well, just take me. I am the one who despaired. Leave my family out of it. I'll go with you. Just leave them alone. Nope, he won't take your deal. So it's an internal contradiction where giving up hope is a mortal sin, but there's nothing to hope for. Like, there's no reason for it. There is no mercy.
Yeah, once Krampus comes, it's all over.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, some of the characters even try these approaches and get shut down. It's like, nope, you're screwed. On a Christian holiday, mercy doesn't work. Dougherty passed up the chance to turn one of his characters into a Christ figure in a Christmas movie. Possibly the most effective and emotionally engaging type of protagonist in the Western canon, and you're going to go with, like, the ironic dark nihilist ending? Really? Okay.
And in your eyes, that sort of breaks the internal logic of the setting itself.
Well, it does. It sets up the contradiction where a commenter on my blog where I reviewed this said that one of his rules for horror movies is if the end result of the horror movie is indistinguishable, except superficially, from every single character putting a gun to his head and pulling the trigger, then he's not interested. And that's basically this. Like, after the inciting incident, there's nothing anyone could have done. Like, they were all dead. So, nothing after that point matters.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and they could have done with what, oddly enough, Event Horizon, which is a much darker movie, does this right. If you've ever seen that.
I did see Event Horizon back in the 90s. If
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
Yeah, and basically the ending with Lawrence Fishburne and that, pretty much the same scenario here. Except it would be as if, and it's been long enough, the crew had not been saved by his sacrifice, and they were all screwed at the end. imagine how much less satisfying that would have been. And
So it's
that's
the mist
great.
ending.
Yeah, it's the mist ending, except the dad, like it goes to black and you hear the gunshot as the dad also kills himself because nobody makes it. Sorry.
That's a terrible ending for a horror movie. That's just not how horror movies are supposed to end. Not American horror movies, at least. All right, we are way, way, way over time here.
Well, if you want to go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna finish up very, very quickly with Mockingjay. It's more of the same. If you've seen the other 3 movies, and you'll know what Mockingjay is about. Strong performances. It kind of feels padded because it's the second half of a book that didn't need to be broken up into 2 halves. Some of the things are done are very effective. They're kind of derivative, and there are a few there are a few moments where, in retrospect, what happened doesn't actually make sense. But if you know the series, it ends in the same note as the series, so there's kind of a note of triumph. And the epilogue, they actually bother to have an epilogue. The epilogue is sweet and touching. So I'm not saying it's a spectacular movie in the sense of even just the Hunger Games movies. If you've seen the other ones, you'll know what's coming. You'll know what's in this one. The plot details may surprise you, but the emotional content and tone won't. And it also made me realize how much I am sick of modern American heroes who spend all of their time whining about how terrible they are. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it's real, and I don't think it adds anything to the character. It doesn't make them more textured. I'm beginning to be a lot more old-fashioned in my heroes. I'm beginning to think that a lot of the people writing in the pulps in the 20s and 30s had the right idea with characters who had confidence, who had drive, who were themselves strong characters who did not spend half the time whining about how they're not good enough to be heroes or leaders or whatever. So, I don't know. That's my review. That may not sound like an endorsement, but the fact is it's the 4th movie in a series, and it's the second half of a book. If you're going to watch this movie, you will have seen the other ones already, and you're going to watch this to finish out the series. So don't let that, you shouldn't be stopped by that. Go ahead, see it, finish out the series. If you want to watch this movie, you'll want to start with the other movies to see the series. So that's my review there. All right. Ran way over time today. That's not a problem. I'm going to give Dorrinal a final chance to say anything or ask any questions or whatever he wants to do.
I'm going to rush right out and not see those movies. Thanks for chatting with me about them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other than Creed, you should see Creed. That's just my opinion. Brian, anything else?
Oh, I've said way too much already, so I'm backing out. Thanks, so.
Okay. Thanks for tuning in, folks. This is Geek Gab for December 12th, 2015. We, your hosts, are signing off. But don't worry. We will be back.